We have been in this series on longevity, and particularly longevity combined with quality of life. As a brief review, we started out with an article by the head of a research group in Tokyo, Japan, Dr. Katani, that after World War II, they discovered that the islands of Japan that are called Okinawa had the population living about 10 years longer than in the mainland. And they published this paper that we went through. This was followed by that people on Okinawa decided they were very important people. So in the weekly publication, Epic Times, it points out that they established a foundation on the Okinawan Islands just to study why they have longevity there. And one of the most important things they found out is that the first researchers just assumed that the Okinawans ate rice as thoroughly or completely as the mainland. But one of the first things they found out is that sweet potatoes made up 67% of the volume of their diets, and that this had changed greatly. And then we had a series that this was picked up by National Geographic because the World Health Organization has studied across the countries and found 5 what they call blue zones, where the population characteristically lives up to 10 or 15 years longer average than other countries. And this was followed by another article by National Geographic just on living longer and better, which we went into the details of the characteristics of the population in the blue zones. And then Life Extensions magazine had this article on William Shatner on television, who's 91 and is very active. And he shared his quote, secrets of longevity. And we found out that in all of these areas, there is an ancient recognized factor that it's diet and exercise. In fact, the father of Western medicine that's credited to Hippocrates, if you go on Google, you can search, and that he said before our calendar started, if we could provide to the patient the proper or optimal diet and exercise, not too much, not too little, we'd have found the safest pathway to good health. And then he wrote underneath this, let your food be your medicine and your medicine your food. Well, those 2 points are a common factor in all these blue zones. And importantly, in the blue zones, rather than going to a gymnasium, which we have to do in population centers, they tend to be farmers and fishermen, and they get their exercise in their daily activity. But they had the characteristics of a high fruit and vegetable intake and very low meat intake, frequently no more than 1 day a week or festivals. And they had, in addition, activity of their brain and interaction within the community and with their family and a purpose in life, which I say is very important as to add to the common denominator of the principles of the diet and exercise. So there is currently an awful lot of interest in longevity and quality of life while aging. And I was thinking about the history of North America, North, Central, and South America, that the Spanish and Portuguese came over, and they were those explorers that looked for gold and silver and wanted to take it back to Spain and Portugal. However, Ponte de Leon went to Florida looking for the fountain of youth. And this is something that human beings for endless generations have been interested in, not only good years, but having quality of life. And is there any biochemistry that we can find out that you can study objectively that can give some measurement of whatever you're doing, is it effective? And so for this last lecture, which I give as a justification, that's 100% of the population is going to be involved in aging, and probably 100% if they're going to age, they want to have quality of life. Who wants to be in bed, somebody having to help them, or maybe on a breathing machine or something? What you want is quality of life. And is there any measurement? And so this lecture is going to be on telomeres. And so with that, we will go to the PowerPoint presentation. This is the first slide that we have been using in this series on longevity and quality of life. And it emphasizes that the World Health Organization, which is a division of the United Nations, has surveyed approximately 100 countries and found what they call blue zones, where people live in good health up to their 90th decade. And interesting enough, the very first group that we covered, which was in the Okinawan Islands, they, at the time of this was recorded, they have a lady that's 114 years of age. They found out they had people in their high 90s that were living independently and very active in their communities. And we mentioned in the introduction the commonalities that they found out, but in these blue zones, they have more people living to 100 per 100,000 population than anywhere else. And a very characteristic of that, the blue zone, is that I believe 3 of those blue zones were islands that are isolated from the main population centers. And of course, in the main population centers, you have the commercialization of food supply, of French fried franchise, fast food, which in these areas you find out over and over again is contrary to longevity and quality of life. We will go to the next slide. And in 1933, a researcher by name McClintock discovered little caps on the end of all the chromosomes, of the 46 chromosomes, a little cap that was called a telomere. And it's, we will tell what it's made of here in a minute. It's chains of DNA on the end of the chromosomes. Then in 2009, Blackburn, Girder, and Solascat, or whatever the name is, got a Nobel Prize for showing that these little caps called telomeres protected the chromosome from free radicals and oxidation and from mutation. And that there was an enzyme that is active, made by the body from nutrients, that lengthens the telomeres, which otherwise shorten every time there is a cell division. The telomeres get shorter. And we'll point out the importance of that in a minute. But I would like to point out before we go further that these individuals, I purposely didn't put their first name because they are all females. And that, I think, is significant in terms of the big picture of science and analyzing populations, that for decades, females weren't even admitted to medical school or graduate programs. And now they are able to go there, and they're very productive. And in fact, one of the hot areas in research right now is the CRISPR technology that was recognized by a woman researcher. So the telomeres and the CRISPR genetic editing and improvements that is such a hot area of research, all done by 4 female researchers. Now, this is an artist concept of what they can see under the electron microscope. And on the 46 chromosomes, we have them there. There's a pair of them. It's 23 pairs, but individually they have a matching chromosome. And if you'll notice, the one on the left is a short little end on it, looks fuzzy. And the one on the right is a long telomere. And this is important, as we'll point out. Also, this is an artist's conception of what the telomere does. In the left of this picture, you see it looks like kind of like popcorn all over the chromosomes or the nucleic acids, and this protects them. Over on the right, you see what happens with aging as the telomeres get shorter and the chromosomes are exposed to chemicals and radicals and radiation, which fosters aging problems. That the shorter the telomere, the less longevity and quality of life. So this is the protection of the chromosomes offered by the telomeres. Now, this is just to point out that each time a cell divides, you can see down at the bottom of the cartoon, the telomeres get a little shorter, and that children have the longest telomeres in infants, and the elderly have the shortest telomeres if it's just regular biological aging, and you're not following some of the key important things that we've discovered in the blue zones that the World Health Organization found. As we pointed out, that children have longer telomeres, and as they more and more cell divisions, that the telomeres get shorter unless you're doing something to activate the telomerase, which the Nobel Prize was given for, that lengthens them. And this protects the nucleic acids that are in the chromosomes, or the genes, from the activity of the mitochondria that generate free radicals and nascent oxygen molecules that are very reactive. And this keeps, because the molecules that are in the genes carry information. If any radical attaches or oxygen attaches, it alters the information in this. And it points out that the telomeres are made of repeating sequences of and it says TTAGGG on one strand, and it's paired with AATCCC on the other strand, which is called complementary banding. In our genes, everywhere there is a T, it attaches to an A, and anytime there's a G, it attaches with a C. That's called complementary binding. And they point out that these little fuzzy things that look like a cap on the end of the chromosomes, that you'll have 8,000 pairs of these in a newborn, And by the time you're an adult, you have about 3,000. And as you get to be elderly, it's around 1,500 of these thing. And these are what we were just talking about there, that the A stands for adenine, and it always pairs with guanine, the G, and the thymidine and the cytidine. And that these are the molecules that are on the end. And if you'll notice, they're only made up of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, which I think is a interesting aspect of the key molecules or elements that are in the composition of matter chart that make up the language or the code of DNA. I have pointed out, I think previously, that if you have some kind of success, as we did with research on the Aloe at Carrington Laboratories, people think you know a whole lot more than you really do. And over in Dallas, my office is located between Dallas and Fort Worth. In Dallas, they have researchers trying to develop hardware and software for computers and cell phones we'll have 10, 15 years from now. And time again, they have come and spent up to a half a day wanting to know how nature has used this code made of these 4 nucleic acids that carry out this. This is a code written in these molecules that is more than double, maybe 10 times or more powerful to carry information than the current code that is used in computers and cell phones. So they want to know how this is done in nature and how it's done in the cells. And of course, I don't have the answer to that any more than I have the answer to how all of this incredible coding came into being. I can tell you it didn't come from just a bunch of molecules getting excited and deciding to get organized, that there is a creative organizing and designing power in the universe that is responsible for this. And there's no denial when you look at this code that something that we don't have the answer to is going on to be the source of plant and animal life. Now, some basic knowledge about telomeres, that long telomeres are found in individuals and families that tend to live to 90 to 100 years of age or longer. And I have an asterisk there that the title that backs this up was in the Journal of Gerontology. It was entitled Association of Longer Telomeres with Better Health in Centenarians. In other words, people that are 100 and in good health have long telomeres. Also, long telomeres are found in animals with long lifespans. Unfortunately, short telomeres are found in families that tend to die, say, in the window of about 55 to 70 years of age from the chronic diseases of elderly. And they have short telomeres. Also, there's short telomeres in animal species that have short lifespans. One of the things that is characteristic of the blue zones identified by the World Health Organization is that when they've assayed them, that these individuals in the blue zones have longer telomeres and they have better quality of life, which I think is something that everyone wants to have. Now, this is a paper, the title, Association of Longer Telomeres with Better Health in Centenarians. And in dark blue there, it points out that telomere length was measured by quantitative polymerase chain reaction in 38 individuals that ranged in age from 97 to 108. And in this 108, there were some super healthy centenarians that numbered 19. And I will share you some of the information that is in this paper. There were 38 individuals that were over 100. And in those 38, if you'll see on the left, there were a group that were very healthy, and there were some in this group of over 100 that were not all that healthy. They measured their telomeres, and of the healthy ones, they averaged 4,700 of those little DNA caps on the ends of them, whereas the unhealthy ones were only about 3,500. This was really not expected, and as they say that not only is the telomeres at the bottom of the page, you can see associated with longer life, but the longer the telomeres, the quality of life is improved, and the diseases associated with advanced age are very low or not present. And the little square boxes give you the full range of the lowest to the highest of those in the healthy group and those in the unhealthy group. And this was something that was new information. Not only did the telomeres links influence longevity, but are also active in quality of life as you age. And this is the same abstract we just saw, but it ends with this conclusion that's in the heavy type, that this raises the possibility that perhaps it is not only exceptional longevity of one's function of health that may be associated with good health with telomere length. Now, what is the general ideas of telomere research and current status? Well, the telomeres are considered to be an onboard monitoring device about how old you are biochemically and physiologically, not by your calendar, but the things that influence the telomeres are exercise, eat foods that lengthen telomeres. We'll get into a little more detail on that. You avoid foods that shorten telomeres, and that's your French fried franchise type food. You look for things that boost the enzyme that are natural, that lengthens telomeres. They find out that stress, emotional and physical stress, is important in telomere lengths. They find out that your mental activity and whether you're stressed or live in a state of anxiety and pressure, and that practicing meditation is good. And you should avoid toxins in the environment. And if you're still trying to search, well, what does telomere mean? Telomeres are caps on the ends of the chromosome strands that protect your DNA, the 4 nucleic acids I showed you, from unraveling or fraying or mutations or any radicals from attaching to them. They're protected. Now, these are things that come from a PubMed survey of titles that to increase telomere length is regular exercise. And walking at least 3 miles 3 times a week is considered at this point to be a minimally adequate exercise. But in the blue zones, the important thing that people didn't go out and go to gyms or walk distances, that they were active in their areas of sheep herding or farming or fishing. Also in the diet, folic acid increases telomere length, and testosterone increases it. And in mushrooms, there is a compound called L-ergothioneine, which is used in the synthesis of superoxide dismutase, which is part of the intracellular system to quench or to inactivate free radicals and nascent oxygen. The free radicals primarily coming from the mitochondria as they make ATP, but lo and behold, you can have special kind of microscopes to show that there's a little cloud of glutathione and superoxide dismutase in the cell right around the mitochondria to grab up these free radicals so that they do not attach to the chromosomes and alter the information there. Another thing that has been found that lengthens telomeres, and it's been advocated for nearly 20 years by Life Extension's foundation, is finasteride. I meant to remove that in the parentheses. Telomere lengths are extended by meditation and rest and prayer, and apparently singing in groups also helps this. It is an interaction with other people, and other healthy lifestyles and habits are good for your telomeres. Now, things you'd like to avoid, and before we go even in further into these, that these were found to be in the blue zones by the World Health Organization to add to why the populations there had a longer life and better health. Well, you want to avoid the things that decrease telomere length is that every cell division, and of course, all the cells in the body have a polyadenate tail to tell how long they're supposed to last, and they're recycled. That's called apoptosis. And every time a cell divides, the telomere will shorten unless there's something that's affecting telomerase, the enzyme that restores it. Depression and stress are very negative for telomere length. High altitudes, sleep apnea, and having malignancies, poor lifestyles and habits, drinking excessively, long hours without any breaks. They're just a poor lifestyle shortens your telomeres. Smoking and contamination from hydrocarbons, the solvents from the petroleum industry, are not good for telomeres. And of course, obesity is not conducive to good health and longevity. And that gets to be a pretty serious condition, because it's considered that over half the population in the United States suffers from obesity. Now, because of this telomere subject, Wellness Quest, with its key more comprehensive nutrition called New Eden, which has been developed slowly over the last 36 years, starting with the acetylated mannose that was found to be the active ingredient in aloe leaf gel, which was the reason that it's been used in history of human beings for over 5,000 years. Carrington Laboratories raised $20 million to try to find out what is in aloe leaf gel that does this, and it was found to be acetylated mannose, a sugar that is utilized in cellular synthesis, and for short, it's called Acemannan. Now, this little study that's going on slowly because we don't have a grant. The subjects have to be male or female over 50 years of age, and they have been taking the acetylated mannose or aloe Acemannan formulation for at least 12 months. And Wellness Quest doesn't have the sole Acemannan source, but any source that you've been taking Aloe Acemannan for at least 12 months and you're over 50 qualifies a person. We want to know the average intake a day estimate, and what is required is we have kits that issued by a laboratory that does the telomere assay in Houston, Texas, and it's a citrated vacutainer tube that keeps the blood from coagulating so that they can get white cells and measure their telomeres. In addition, we have a complete review of systems of the health status. It goes through all the organ systems. What is your health history there? Do you have anything in the past or current that you can mark? We have a form for the family ancestor longevity record. And we want to know when the Aloe Acemannan was started and the average amount consumed. The preliminary telomerase results, we're probably a third to halfway through the study. Example, there's an 86-year-old male that had been taking the Aloe Acemannan for a number of years, and his telomere value is 45 to 55. And of course, that male there is talking to you right now. So there are many individuals that just by appearance and activity think that I am functioning at a level much younger. And in fact, my telomeres are that you would expect in an aging group of 45 to 50 years, 5 years of age. We have an 80-year-old male who was a special forces in the military, jumping out of airplanes and swimming across the English Channel as part of an exercise program. And he had been taking the Aloe Acemannan for more than a year. And his got some better results there. His lengths were 25 to 35 years old, just like by empiric observation. Hippocrates said that it's diet and exercise are so important. And of course, exercise is important in this person. And then we have a male that's 57 years old, and he has participated in Ironman competitions and does triathlon several times a year. And so every week he's doing bicycling and running, and then at times swimming. And so that's a much more intense current, pardon me, exercise as well as a healthy diet. And his telomeres were that of a 15 to 25-year-old. You can see the history and the activities of the individuals that are in that area that the World Health Organization identified a blue zone population. Then we have a 74-year-old male that does daily walks with his dog about twice a day, and his telomeres are 10 to 20 range. We have a 74-year-old male that had bipolar problems and is irregular about taking the Aloe Acemannan, and his were in the range of 30 to 40. So he didn't have as intense, and to my knowledge, he has no significant exercise. Then we have a male that's 54, And if you'll notice, his telomere range was 5 to 10 years of age. Well, I investigated this 54-year-old, and he's on the faculty at University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. One, he is a not a vegetarian, but a vegan. And that is a very strict individual with his diet. He also is a competition bodybuilder and has photographs and trophies for his muscle development and configuration in competition. Also, he is the director of a building that has exercise machines for all the students at the University of Miami, and he's a fiend about constant exercise. So he's probably the best of all of these in terms of current activities and things that are present. And his telomeres are in the range of a 5 to a 10-year-old. Somehow the next slide didn't get included in this, but we have, these were all male. And of course, females tend to live about 10 years longer than males. So I would say males are more involved. In the slide that didn't come up and is not in this is the females have been done, and they're showing similar things. So this is to let you know that if you happen to take New Eden for a health compromise, which I use the term deviation from normal health, because in the United States, in the dietary supplement health and education legislation, which is called DSHEA, in the labeling section, it points out that it is against the law to claim to treat, cure, or mitigate disease or to correct an abnormal health condition with anything but an FDA government-approved pharmaceutical drug. So we avoid using any disease or syndrome terms and just call it a deviation from normal, because good diet, reasonable exercise, and activities with other people and having a purpose in life has been found by the World Health Organization to not only add years of life, but quality of life. And with that, I hope that we will eventually have enough telomere result cases that we can publish it and show that this is a quantitative, valid biochemical assay that's objective to show the ability to something that you can do as an individual with your diet and exercise and activities that you do with your family and community, that adds not only years to your life, but quality of life. And so it's not a fountain of youth that Ponte de Leon was looking for, but things that are in the individual's freedom and liberty to do, that you can do these things that have been found that are important in the blue zones by the World Health Organization. And it's the ultimate expression of a personal freedom and liberty. So with that, I will end this lecture, and I hope that that telomeres is something that you will abide by.